Welcome back to another episode of Pipe and Verse here at Perkins Pipes. Got the trusty Missouri Meerschaum, Missouri Pride here today. And inside, we've got the ever wonderful classic codger blend, Sir Walter Raleigh. And there's a particular reason for that tobacco on this episode of Pipe and Verse. And you're going to see why in just a moment. So let's get this guy lit. Let's get to talking. So, this is just our second episode of Pipe and Verse. In addition to the fact that I like Sir Walter Raleigh, and I particularly like it in the Cobb. And the Cobb kind of made me want to bring out the Bass Pro Shops. And sure, anyhow, there's a reason for this particular tobacco and for this episode. So in our last episode, we introduced this new segment to the channel, Pipe and Verse. Had that wonderful poem by Howard Nemerov, Because You Asked About the Line Between Prose and Poetry, and talked about what poetry really is. And then I thought, the first poem that I've really got to get into on fundamentally a piping channel has to be a poem by Sir Walter Raleigh. And there's one of his that I particularly like, because it's written in response to another poet named Christopher Marlowe. So we're going to share two poems with you today. And let me get everything going here. So this one has seen quite a bit of action. The Norton Anthology of Poetry. This was mine as an undergrad. And in fact, I still see notes in here, which we'll show you here in just a moment. And the poem we really want to get to by Sir Walter Raleigh, before we can get to that, we have to read another poem first. So, Christopher Marlowe, British poet, wrote this in about 1599, the year 1599. And it's titled, The Passionate Shepherd to His Love. And it's written in rhyming couplets, so A-A-B-B sort of rhyme scheme. Every two lines rhyme. And you'll hear the rhythm or the meter of this. I've got too much wind here blowing my pages. Come live with me and be my love. So that's a rhythm called the iamb, or the iambic rhythm, come live. Unstressed, stressed. Come live with me and be my love. So there's 4 units of that unstressed, stressed rhythm. 4 units is called a tetrameter. So this is written in iambic tetrameter. Every 2 lines are rhyming. So iambic tetrameter couplets. And he writes, Come live with me and be my love, and we will all the pleasures prove, that valleys, groves, hills, and fields, woods, or steepy mountain yields. And we will sit upon the rocks, seeing the shepherds feed their flocks, by shallow rivers to whose falls melodious birds sing madrigals. And I will make thee beds of roses, and 1,000 fragrant posies, a cap of flowers and a kirtle, embroidered all with leaves of myrtle, a gown made of the finest wool, which from our pretty lambs we pull, fair lined slippers for the cold, with buckles of the purest gold, a belt of straw and ivy buds, with coral clasps and amber studs. And if these pleasures may thee move, come live with me and be my love. Thy shepherd swains shall dance and sing for thy delight each May morning. If these delights thy mind may move, then live with me and be my love. Now, I've got a couple notes here. I've got compare Eclogue 2. You can see a few of the notes here. I say compare Eclogue 2. Compare Eclogue 2, lines 45 to 50. So, this poem is written in imitation of Greek and Roman pastoral poetry. Now, when you hear the word pastor, I'm sure you're thinking probably something having to do with church. The word pastor, P-A-S-T-O-R, simply means shepherd, right? So you think about the pastor of a church as the shepherd of the people of the church, this flock. Okay, we kind of get that metaphor and that image. Pastoral poetry is simply poetry about shepherds. You're saying, ooh, don't have a whole lot of shepherd music there on my Spotify playlist. Well, in cultures that were heavily agrarian, as the Greeks and the Romans certainly were, shepherding was a common thing. And one of the kind of figures and structures that some of this pastoral poetry had was shepherds who would be out in the field, got nothing else to do, just sitting around watching sheep, and so they would make these little pipes, these little pan pipes, from the reeds that grow alongside the river. Next thing you know, toodle-doop-doodly-doo, you're playing on the pipes, and you're basically having the world's first rap battle. These guys would sit around and sing songs, and hey, I think I can compose a better song than you can. And a lot of times the shepherds, of course, would sing about their girlfriends and their loves. And so what Christopher Marlowe's doing here in 1599 is imitating that kind of poetry. And so he's got this wonderful thing. He starts off, asking the girl, hey, come live with me and be my love. We will all the pleasures prove. Hey, we're going to have a pretty good time together. And then he says, we're going to sit on the rocks. We're going to listen to the birds singing. And I'm going to make you beds of roses. I'm going to make you a cap of flowers. I'm going to embroider it with myrtle. I'm going to make a gown for you made from the finest wool from the lambs, right, that I'm tending as a shepherd. And offers her all these wonderful things. Belt of straw and ivy buds with coral clasps and amber studs and so forth. That's a pretty poem. It's nice. Like I say, it's very much in the style of this pastoral poetry. Well, the next year, 1600, our boy, Sir Walter Raleigh comes along. And he writes a poem called The Nymph's Reply to the Shepherd. He writes a companion poem, a response to this poem that Christopher Marlowe. So here's our boy. All right, here's old Sir Walter Raleigh. See if I can get him. See if I can get him and his pipe, and me and my pipe in the frame at the same time. So there he is smoking his pipe. And at pipe aficionados, we think of him in terms of tobacco, right? Well, he's a poet as well. And so this is his response to Marlowe's poem. He writes, and so this is from the perspective of the young woman, the nymph, the woodland nymph, to the shepherd. And she says, if all the world and love were young, and truth in every shepherd's tongue, these pretty pleasures might me move to live with thee and be thy love. So he takes the exact same structure, the iambic tetrameter. If all the world and love were young, right? Iambic tetrameter, and again rhyming couplets here. And so he does that, and he also echoes the line where Marlowe had said, "Come live with me and be my love." She says, then the things that you're offering, she says, might me move to live with thee and be thy love. All right, so we got to get the structure there. It's response to Marlowe. Let's start again. If all the world and love were young, and truth in every shepherd's tongue, these pretty pleasures might me move to live with thee and be thy love. Time drives the flocks from field to fold, and rivers rage and rocks grow cold. And Philomel becometh dumb, the rest complains of cares to come. The flowers do fade, and wanton fields to wayward winter reckoning yields. A honey tongue, a heart of gall, is fancy's spring, was sorrow's fall. Thy gowns, thy shoes, thy beds of roses, thy cap, thy kirtle, and thy posies, soon break, soon wither, soon forgotten, in folly ripe, in reason rotten. Thy belt of straw and ivy buds, thy coral clasps and amber studs, all these in me no means can move, to come to thee and be thy love. But could youth last and love still breed, had joys no date, nor age no need, then these delights my mind might move, to live with thee and be thy love. So she's going to have none of this, all right? So he has offered her all the woodland delights. He's offered, again, garments made of the wool from the sheep, and he's going to make these different garments, and he's going to weave different things for her from the flowers and so forth. And she says, okay. Yeah. Well, she says, if all the world and love were young, but it's not. The world is rather old at this point, and we know the ways of love. And if there were truth in every shepherd's tongue, but I know there's not. I know what you're trying, Mr. Shepherd. Oh, then these pleasures might me move to live with thee and be thy love. I'm a little bit savvier than that, okay, guy? That's what she's saying. I'm a little bit savvier. I'm on to you. And she says, look, time passes. Time drives the flocks from field to fold when rivers rage and rocks grow cold. And then she says, flowers do fade, okay? And wanton fields to wayward winter reckoning yields. These fields you want to go play around in right now because they're nice weather? Yeah, well, winter comes and makes those fields not so nice, right? Oh, you might have a tongue of honey, you're speaking sweet things, but a heart of gall. I might not really be able to trust your heart. And then she goes on to say, she says, all these things you're offering, the gowns, thy shoes, thy beds of roses, she says, all that stuff, she says, soon break, soon wither, soon forgotten, in folly ripe. Your ideas are full of foolishness, but in reason rotten. Okay, you're not thinking this through, young man. She says, thy belt of straw and ivy buds, all that stuff. She says, all these in me no means can move to come to thee and be thy love. Just because you offer me a whole bunch of stuff, that isn't going to persuade me to come to you. But if you could offer something else. She says, could youth last and love still breed, right? If we could go on living as young people forever, had joys no date, right? No expiration date on joy, nor age no need. If our age and decrepit old age didn't have any of the physical needs, well, then these delights my mind might move to live with thee and be thy love. So that is a really, well, I love it. I love it because it's this a fun, witty reply to Marlowe's poem. It's from the perspective of the nymph, the young lady. And as so often is the case, the woman sees right through the tricks of men and all the things that we might do to try to persuade them, right, to be with us, to go out with us, and so forth. So quite a humorous little retort to Marlowe, and a great one to talk about with Sir Walter Raleigh in the Cobb. If you like that one, tell us what you think about that one. Tell us what you think about Sir Walter Raleigh, either the tobacco or the poet. Share some other poems maybe you would like for me to discuss. Certainly there's a lot more that I'm looking forward to sharing with you. As Malcolm Guite, the poet himself, likes to say, I do these little things in order at last to do nothing. Or as I say in Latin, parva ago ut tandem nihil agam. Have a wonderful day.